On a sunny Sunday morning, Sylvia, a dedicated police colonel, is preparing for a relaxing day with her daughter Mia and mother Margaret at the beach. But her plans take a shocking turn when a routine traffic stop escalates into a confrontation with a prejudiced officer. As Sylvia faces a barrage of media attention and navigates the fallout from the incident, she finds herself at the center of a national debate on racial discrimination. Despite the chaos, she remains committed to justice and family, ultimately finding solace in a day at the beach with her loved ones. If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any videos. It was a Sunday morning, and the day greeted Sylvia with an abundance of radiance. The sun cast a golden glow over everything, and its light filtered through the lush greenery of her garden. Birds flitted about joyfully, their cheerful songs creating a harmonious symphony with the gentle breeze. The beauty of the morning seemed to align perfectly with the rhythm of nature, enveloping Sylvia's surroundings in a serene atmosphere. Sylvia, a 40-year-old black woman and a dedicated police colonel, had a routine of rising early, a necessity imposed by her demanding career. On this particular morning, she found herself awake even before her alarm was set to ring. She settled onto the porch with a steaming cup of coffee in hand and a cigarette between her fingers, savoring the peaceful scene before her. The rich aroma of the coffee mingled with the crisp, fresh morning air, and the melodious chirping of the birds created a soft, soothing soundtrack that added to the sense of calm she felt. Just as she was starting to relax, her phone alarm went off, punctuating the quiet with a shrill beep that signaled exactly 7 a.m. Sylvia, still feeling the residual stress from her work, fumbled to silence the alarm. Her demanding role as a colonel kept her perpetually on edge with a relentless barrage of phone calls, endless reports, meetings, and ongoing debates about public safety. The morning's tranquility was a stark contrast to the usual chaos of her professional life, making her even more eager to spend a peaceful day with her family, her young daughter Mia, who was 8 years old, and her mother, Margaret, who lived with her. Sylvia rose from her porch seat and made her way to her mother's room to wake her. Margaret, startled by Sylvia's early wake-up call, blinked groggily and looked up at her daughter. Sylvia, forcing a tense smile, inquired, "What's wrong, Mom? Were you dreaming?" Her attempt at levity was met with a nervous chuckle. Next, Sylvia moved to Mia's room, where she found her daughter already in tears. Without hesitation, she picked up Mia, cradling her gently, and asked, "What's wrong, sweetie?" Mia's sobs were muffled as she explained through her tears, "I had a nightmare. I dreamed I lost all my teeth, and the girls at school were laughing at me." Sylvia's heart ached at her daughter's distress. She offered a comforting smile and reassured Mia with a loving tone, "Honey, that's not going to happen. You're very beautiful, and you're physically perfectly fine." With a mixture of concern and affection, Sylvia gently placed Mia back on the floor and instructed, "Sweetie, go take a bath and brush your teeth because we'll be leaving soon." In the living room, Margaret, who had been listening from the other room, offered her assistance. "If you'd like, I can help you with Mia. You can go ahead and get ready." Sylvia, slightly surprised by her mother's offer, asked, "But Mom, aren't you going to get ready too?" Margaret chuckled softly and replied, "Oh dear, I'm at an age where I'm not looking for a boyfriend anymore. It's you who needs to get out more." Sylvia's smile was a blend of affection and a touch of sadness. "Yeah, Mom, I really should make more of an effort to socialize." She let out a resigned sigh and said, "All right, Mom, I'll go get ready." She then headed upstairs to her bedroom to prepare for the day. Sylvia had recently gone through a significant personal upheaval. She had separated from Roberto, her ex-husband, who worked at a well-known radio station. Their relationship had begun under contentious circumstances when Roberto publicly criticized public safety. Sylvia, responsible for overseeing that very area, had confronted him at the radio station. The argument between them was heated, but amidst the friction, Sylvia found herself drawn to Roberto. Despite the complexity of the public safety issues that initially drove them apart, Roberto eventually came to understand the challenges Sylvia faced. Their professional sparring gave way to a personal connection, leading to dinner dates, a blossoming romance marriage, and the birth of their daughter, Mia. However, after 5 years of marriage, Sylvia discovered Roberto's betrayal with an intern named Camila. The revelation came when Sylvia followed Roberto to the radio station and witnessed an affair that shattered her trust. Overwhelmed by the betrayal, she reacted impulsively, causing extensive damage to the radio studio in a moment of fury. Unable to forgive him or endure the sight of Camila, Sylvia chose to separate from Roberto. Acknowledging the gravity of his actions and his need to escape the shame, Roberto relocated to another city. Sylvia, seeking to rebuild her life, invited her mother to move in with her, hoping to provide a stable environment for both her mother and her daughter. If you are still watching this video and find these stories useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. On this particular Sunday, Sylvia planned a simple but meaningful outing to the beach with her mother and daughter a day to enjoy the company of 3 generations: grandmother, mother, and daughter. They prepared for a relaxing day in the sun and, once ready, made their way to Sylvia's car. As they left the house and drove through a busy street, Sylvia glanced in the rearview mirror and noticed a police car speeding up behind them, aggressively maneuvering to overtake. In a moment of heightened alertness, Sylvia signaled to move to the side to avoid a collision. However, the police car mirrored her movements, bringing them dangerously close to an accident. Sylvia managed to steer away just in time, her heart racing from the close call. When Sylvia glanced at the police car in her rearview mirror, she saw a female officer with a scowl of intense anger behind the wheel, driving with a sense of urgency that left no doubt about her agitation. The officer slammed her fist against the driver's door of the patrol car, causing a sharp, reverberating sound. Through gritted teeth, she shouted, "Are you blind? Can't you see the police car?" Without waiting for a response, she ordered Sylvia to pull over immediately. Ahead, Sylvia spotted a supermarket parking lot and signaled her intention to turn into it, determined to comply with the officer's directive while avoiding obstructing traffic. Her mother, sitting beside her in the passenger seat, looked alarmed and asked, "What's wrong, Mom? What's happening?" Sylvia, striving to maintain her composure despite the tense situation, glanced back reassuringly and said, "It's nothing, sweetie. Mommy just needs to step out of the car for a moment. Stay here quietly, okay?" Turning to her mother, she added, "Just stay here, Mom. I'll be right back." As Sylvia parked the car and stepped out, the officer, still seething with anger, stormed up to her. "Hey, ma'am, stop right there. Put your hands on the roof of the vehicle," she barked. Sylvia, confused and unsettled by the officer's aggressive demeanor, struggled to comprehend the situation. The officer's voice, growing increasingly loud and erratic, cut through the air. The gravity of the situation was escalating rapidly. With her heart pounding, Sylvia took a deep breath and attempted to speak calmly, though her voice was taut with tension. "Officer, could you please explain why you've stopped me? I have my mother and my 8-year-old daughter in the car." The female officer's face grew even more severe, her anger boiling over as she began to hurl insults. "Of course, it had to be a black woman driving like this," she spat with blatant contempt. "Don't you know how to follow traffic rules?" Sylvia was struck deeply by the officer's racist and unjust remarks. The rawness of the prejudice and the unfairness of the situation ignited a surge of anger and frustration within her. Standing tall and with a presence that commanded respect, Sylvia prepared to respond with the poise and authority of a high-ranking officer. "With all due respect, I am only trying to understand the reason for this stop. I merely attempted to avoid an accident and ensure I did not disrupt traffic." The officer, still fuming, disregarded Sylvia's calm inquiry and continued to shout orders. "Put your hands on the roof of the vehicle and stay still." Sylvia complied, raising her hands and standing firm. A high-ranking officer soon arrived on the scene, his eyes taking in Sylvia's composed and authoritative stance. His concerned expression suggested that he recognized the seriousness of the situation and the potential error on the part of the angry officer. Sylvia, maintaining her commanding presence, addressed the newcomer with authority. "I would like to go to the station to file a complaint about this stop." The lieutenant, visibly taken aback by Sylvia's demeanor and realizing her high rank, inquired, "Mom, do you know where the station is?" With a tone of controlled irony and a steady gaze, Sylvia extended her arm to display her ID and responded, "Yes, I know where the station is. I'm a colonel." The lieutenant, now clearly startled and concerned, acknowledged the significance of Sylvia's rank. "Would the colonel like an escort to the station?" he asked, aiming to ensure the matter was resolved properly. Sylvia, retaining her firm posture, replied, "That won't be necessary. You've done your part here. The officer who stopped me has committed abuse of power and racial discrimination, and that's what needs to be addressed." Hearing Sylvia's words and grasping the gravity of the situation, the officer's initial concern turned into palpable anxiety. Her face, once stern and composed, now betrayed fear as she approached Sylvia. With a trembling voice, she said, "Colonel, I sincerely apologize for what happened." Sylvia, her gaze unwavering and stern, responded with a tone that left no room for ambiguity. "Apology accepted. but I must inform you that you are now under arrest for abuse of power and racial slander." Her voice was resolute, reflecting the seriousness with which she regarded the officer's actions. Turning to the lieutenant, Sylvia issued a direct order: handcuff the officer and escort her to the station. "I will join you shortly." The lieutenant, visibly anxious and keenly aware of the gravity of the situation, instructed one of the other officers to carry out Sylvia's orders. The officer, now handcuffed, was led away with a mix of dignity and apprehension. Sylvia watched the scene unfold with a deep sense of justice and resolve. She then made her way to her car, where her mother and daughter waited for her. "Let's head to the station," Sylvia commanded with a firm and unyielding tone. "We need to address this matter properly." As the car began its journey toward the station, Sylvia's mind raced, reflecting on the chaotic start to the morning and the profound implications of the situation. The road ahead seemed both literal and metaphorical, marking the path of her commitment to justice. Her daughter and mother sat quietly in the back seat, the tension within the vehicle almost tangible. Sylvia's face remained set with determination, her eyes fixed resolutely on the road. The events of the morning had quickly escalated from what started as a routine matter into something far more significant. She could not ignore the realization that this situation extended well beyond a simple traffic stop. Upon arriving at the station, Sylvia was greeted by a scene of frenetic activity. Officers and staff moved briskly, their usual routines interrupted by an air of heightened urgency. Unbeknownst to Sylvia, the scene outside had already captured widespread attention on social media, creating a buzz that had drawn journalists and reporters to the scene. As soon as Sylvia parked and exited the vehicle, she was immediately enveloped by a throng of journalists, their cameras flashing and microphones thrusting toward her. The clamor of questions from the press was nearly overwhelming. "Colonel, can you provide details about the arrest of the officer?" one reporter demanded. Another inquired, "What is your statement regarding the alleged racial discrimination?" Despite the barrage of inquiries and the intense media frenzy, Sylvia maintained her composure. She addressed the crowd with the calm authority that was her hallmark. "I have filed a formal complaint regarding the officer's conduct, which I believe amounts to abuse of power and racial discrimination," Sylvia declared, her voice steady and measured. "I am fully committed to ensuring that justice is upheld and that accountability is enforced, irrespective of an individual's rank or position." Her mother and daughter remained close by, their faces reflecting a mixture of concern and supportive resolve. The media attention only complicated the situation further, but Sylvia's focus remained unshaken as she grappled with the complexities of the unfolding events. The morning's unexpected turn of events had set the stage for a day that promised to have profound and far-reaching implications for both Sylvia and the police department. If you are still watching this video and find these stories useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. The gravity of the situation was undeniable and overwhelming. It was something I had anticipated, given the circumstances. She responded with unwavering determination, her voice steady and resolute. "We'll approach this with full transparency. What matters most at this moment is to ensure that justice is served and that the complaint of racial slander is treated with the utmost seriousness and gravity it deserves." As the turmoil unfolded, Margaret and Mia remained in the precinct's reception area, observing the pandemonium from a safe distance. Margaret attempted to calm her granddaughter, whose eyes were wide with apprehension and curiosity, unable to fully grasp the chaotic scene outside the station. "Sweetheart, try to stay calm," Margaret said gently, her voice soothing amid the commotion. "Everything is going to be all right. Your mom is taking the right steps to handle this situation." Mia turned to her grandmother with a look of confusion and asked, "Grandma, why is all of this happening?" Margaret, maintaining a composed and empathetic demeanor, responded with comforting words, "Sometimes situations become complicated, but your mom is working hard to make sure that everyone is treated with the respect and fairness they deserve." In the interrogation room, the atmosphere was thick with tension. The officer under scrutiny was being subjected to intense questioning about her conduct. When Sylvia became aware of the developments, she decided to monitor the situation closely to ensure that every aspect of the process was handled with the proper care and attention it required. "You're aware that your actions were recorded and have been disseminated widely, right?" the lieutenant inquired with a serious tone. With tears brimming in her eyes and a look of profound regret, the officer responded, "Yes, I'm aware. I made a grave error, and I am prepared to accept the consequences of my actions." It was evident that the situation had reached a critical juncture. The media coverage was relentless, and footage of the incident was rapidly spreading across the nation. All eyes were on the unfolding situation, keenly observing how Sylvia would navigate the crisis with her steadfast resolve and determined presence. Sylvia understood that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but she was prepared to confront each one head-on. What began as a routine traffic stop had evolved into a pivotal case that would significantly impact perceptions of justice and accountability within the community. With journalists still encircling her and the visible disorder surrounding the precinct, Sylvia took a final, meaningful glance at her mother and daughter before entering the room where the officer was being interrogated. She was resolute in her mission to ensure that justice would prevail and that all parties involved would be held accountable for their actions. After Sylvia had filed her complaint and the officer was officially detained, the atmosphere in the station began to gradually calm. What had initially appeared to be a straightforward traffic stop had transformed into a profound struggle for justice and human dignity. The media frenzy persisted, capturing every moment and broadcasting the case live, reflecting the intense public interest and the critical importance of the issue at hand. The officer, now in custody, found herself in a deeply troubling and precarious situation. Her conduct had attracted widespread media attention, and public opinion was sharply divided, with everyone keenly following the unfolding drama. The gravity of the situation was evident, and Sylvia, recognizing the seriousness of the matter, made sure that all protocols were being followed diligently. Once she was satisfied that everything was under control, she proceeded to the reception area, where her mother Margaret and her daughter, Mia, awaited her arrival. Both women were visibly anxious and on edge, but Sylvia's presence provided a much-needed sense of calm and reassurance. "Mom, are you okay?" Margaret inquired, her voice filled with concern as she saw Sylvia approaching. Sylvia, despite her exhaustion, managed a reassuring smile. "I'm fine, Mom. I've handled everything here," she replied, her voice carrying a blend of firmness and fatigue. "Now let's head to the beach as we planned." The prospect of finally relaxing and spending quality time with her loved ones was a great relief for Sylvia. The weight of the day's events had been overwhelming, but the thought of enjoying a peaceful day by the sea offered a welcome escape. As soon as they left the station, they got into the car and made their way to the beach. The day was nothing short of perfect. The sky was clear, and the sun shone brightly, promising an idyllic seaside outing. Upon arriving at the beach, Sylvia allowed herself to unwind. The soothing sound of the waves gently lapping against the shore and the refreshing sea breeze was just what she needed to decompress. Mia immediately ran toward the water, her excitement evident, while Margaret settled into a beach chair, watching her granddaughter with a warm smile. Sylvia took the opportunity to stroll along the shoreline, her mind occupied with reflections on the day's events. Although the emotional impact of the incident was profound, being surrounded by her family and enjoying the serene beach environment helped to ease her stress. It served as a reminder that, despite the challenges, there were moments of tranquility and beauty to cherish. As the day wore on, the case continued to gain traction on social media. The video of the police interaction and Sylvia's response had gone viral, sparking widespread discussion. Public reactions were mixed while many rallied behind Sylvia, underscoring the importance of combating prejudice and injustice. Others were critical of how the situation had been managed. Gradually, the ripple effects of the case extended beyond social media platforms. Sylvia began receiving numerous invitations to speak at lectures and participate in interviews. She was invited to appear on a prominent podcast, where she had the chance to share her experiences and delve into broader discussions about racial prejudice and the role of women in society. During her podcast appearance, Sylvia spoke with both eloquence and sincerity. She detailed how, despite her initial reaction, she had no intention of causing harm to the officer. Rather, her actions were driven by a personal confrontation with issues of respect and dignity. "On the day of the incident, my goal was not to exacerbate the situation. However, the officer made a deeply offensive comment, suggesting that only a black person would make that kind of traffic mistake. Such prejudice is unacceptable, especially from individuals who are entrusted with maintaining order and justice," Sylvia explained on the podcast. She continued, "I acknowledge that the situation could have been approached differently, but the reality is that the officer's behavior was marked by profound disrespect. I cannot allow such attitudes to become normalized. If we permit this kind of prejudice to persist, it might be my mother or my daughter who faces similar treatment tomorrow." Sylvia's heartfelt and courageous statement struck a chord with the audience. Her forthright discussion of racial prejudice and her insistence on dignity for all were met with widespread admiration. Her story served as a powerful testament to confronting and overcoming adversity, inspiring many to reflect on justice, respect, and the importance of standing up against discrimination. In the end, Sylvia succeeded in achieving a delicate equilibrium between her personal and professional responsibilities. She remained steadfast in her role as a colonel, approaching her duties with unwavering dedication and commitment. Her work continued to be centered around crucial and impactful causes, reflecting her deep-seated values and determination. Sylvia's journey, marked by her resilience in the face of adversity, became a powerful testament to the possibility of advocating for a more just and equitable world, even amidst significant challenges and injustices. The respite she enjoyed on the beach, a rare moment of tranquility amid a particularly turbulent week, was both refreshing and fortifying. It provided her with a much-needed break from the intense pressures and difficulties she faced daily. Sylvia recognized that, despite the ongoing trials, true strength lay in remaining resolute in her core values and persistently striving for justice. This period of reflection and relaxation on the beach not only rejuvenated her spirit but also reinforced her resolve to continue her dual roles effectively, both as a leader within the police force and as a passionate advocate for human rights and social justice. This chapter closes the narrative surrounding Sylvia's case, emphasizing the profound influence it had on her personal and professional life. It underscores the role this experience played in catalyzing a broader societal dialogue about justice and prejudice. The case of Sylvia, who faced racial discrimination, quickly became a focal point of national discourse. Social media platforms were inundated with fervent discussions and debates regarding the police interactions involved and the subsequent reactions to them. While Sylvia garnered considerable support from those who had either encountered racism firsthand or had a deep understanding of the issue, a significant portion of the public remained divided. Many individuals, particularly those who had not experienced racial prejudice directly, viewed Sylvia's response as an overreaction. This divergence in perspectives fueled a heated online debate, transforming public opinion into a contentious arena of contrasting emotions and viewpoints. The reactions from individuals who had not personally experienced prejudice often overlooked the profound personal and psychological impact such incidents can have. Despite this, Sylvia's cause found an ally in Roberto, her ex-husband and Mia's father. Roberto recognized an opportunity to contribute to the dialogue and support Sylvia in a meaningful way. He chose to leverage his platform as a radio host to address the issue publicly. On his show, Roberto approached the discussion with compassion and insight. He articulated the challenges Sylvia faced in dealing with an environment tainted by racism and highlighted that her reactions were responses to both personal affronts and institutionalized biases. Roberto emphasized the importance of acknowledging and understanding the experiences of those who face discrimination. He argued that while Sylvia's reactions might appear excessive to those who have not endured similar suffering, they were deeply rooted in the reality of her experiences and the broader societal issues at play. Listen closely. Everyone, it's essential to understand that what transpired with Sylvia was not merely a minor traffic disagreement. It was the manifestation of a deeply entrenched prejudice that must be challenged and confronted. Her reaction, though it might have seemed extreme to some, was a powerful reflection of the pain and frustration she has accumulated from enduring similar injustices throughout her entire life, Roberto explained with conviction on his show. Roberto's approach began to make a tangible difference. Public sentiment towards Sylvia began to shift positively, and the narrative on social media started to realign in her favor. The renewed admiration for Sylvia was evident as many people began to view the case through a different, more empathetic lens. Over time, Roberto and Sylvia managed to bridge the gap that had emerged between them. The tensions from their past began to dissolve, replaced by a mutual understanding and respect for the struggles each had faced. Roberto increased his visits to Sylvia, and their conversations, which frequently centered around their daughter Mia and the repercussions of the recent incident, provided a fresh perspective on their relationship. Sylvia, observing Roberto's genuine efforts to support and advocate for her publicly, started to reconsider her feelings towards him. The gratitude she felt for his unwavering support and his willingness to stand by her during such a challenging time led her to reevaluate their relationship. The process of reconciliation was gradual and filled with nuanced, meaningful gestures that symbolized their renewed connection. Sylvia grappled with the decision to rekindle their relationship, knowing it involved balancing her emotions with the broader needs of her family. Protecting her daughter and ensuring that any changes were beneficial for their family dynamic weighed heavily on her mind. However, the visible happiness in Mia's demeanor and Roberto's sincere efforts to mend their bond provided significant motivation for moving forward. When the news of Roberto's return to Sylvia's life became public, it was met with considerable enthusiasm and support. Margaret, Sylvia's mother, who had previously been reserved about Roberto, was visibly moved and excited by the development. She had always wished for her daughter's happiness and was overjoyed to see the positive changes reflected in Sylvia and Mia's lives. With tears of joy glistening in her eyes, Margaret expressed her feelings, saying, "I'm so incredibly happy to see you two back together. It feels like the family is healing and coming back together, which is all I've ever wanted for you both." If you are still watching this video and find these stories useful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Sylvia, feeling a profound mixture of relief and joy, responded, "Thank you, Mom. Your support means so much to us. We've been through so much, but having Roberto back in our lives feels like a significant step toward healing and moving forward." With Roberto's steadfast support and the strengthened bond between them, Sylvia found herself in a much better emotional state. The experience of confronting racial prejudice and managing the public reaction had fortified her resolve and brought her family closer together. As she looked toward the future, Sylvia understood that challenges would still arise, but she felt more prepared to face them with the backing of her loved ones and the resilience she had gained through her trials. As we wrap up today's journey through Sylvia's story, we reflect on the deep and emotional experiences that unfolded. From a challenging encounter with prejudice to standing up for justice, Sylvia's day was a powerful testament to courage and resilience. What have you learned from Sylvia's experience and the broader implications of her story? How does it inspire you to address issues of injustice or personal challenges in your own life? We would love to hear your thoughts. Please comment below on one thing you've learned and how you plan to bring it into practice in your life. If you like this video, don't forget to leave your comment, like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content that empowers and encourages. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, stay strong and keep making a difference.